This is Crazy Talks with Carlotta, where we talking about how that's crazy. And today, please welcome my awesome guest, Mr. Bill Maine of Bearded and Blessed. What up?
How are you doing?
Yeah, man, we're super excited for this. This is huge.
This has been a long time coming.
Yeah,
We've needed to sit down for a long time, I think.
cool. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
The opportunity to really create some new avenues and what have you
Yeah.
is certainly an opportunity that's welcome in my life right now. I'm certainly trying to be on my own positive path to peace, and I'm always trying to be a good person to everyone around me and trying to be helpful. And what do you know, except there are other people out there trying to do the same thing.
Right.
It's wonderful. So first, let's just get to know you, Bill. Tell me about yourself. Tell me if you're a native from the area, maybe.
I'm not. I'm implanted from Louisiana. We lost our house in Hurricane Andrew in '92. And then in '95 lost it again in another hurricane. So we moved up north and I've been up here since '98. Um,
Okay.
so I'm a while,
Right.
long enough to put down some roots.
Longer than I've been born. I was only born in 2000.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm an old man. You know, I just I really wanted to do something. So I'm disabled. Like I've got 8 levels of my spine fused. I'm pieced together like Humpty Dumpty. So I needed something to do with my time. Like I had
Right.
all this time. I went from working, 55, 60 hours a week
Mhm.
to nothing. So,
Right.
buddy of mine runs a really successful channel on Facebook. He's got close to 7 million followers.
Okay.
Um,
Successful indeed.
yeah. So he's like, hey man, he's like, I love what your idea is. He's like, you need help, go ask for some help. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not, I'm not a content creator.
Right.
And he's like, you don't have to be. He's like, you're genuine. He's like, you have the passion for it. He's like, people will help the folks that you want to help. He's
Right.
like, I guarantee it. I was like, I was skeptical, but man, the help started coming in. People saw what we were doing. They're like, man, you're really helping. Like you're
Right.
getting stuff to people that need it, and
Mhm.
it took off.
So you really needed to place your investment elsewhere, and you chose to place that investment in trying to help others, to give aid.
Yeah, I don't have anything to invest. I have zero income. Like we
Right.
don't make anything from
Well,
this, and I don't collect disability.
I mean, like, invest in
My time.
as an individual, you're
Yeah.
spiritually,
Oh, I'm
physically,
full. I mean, I'm fully invested. You
right.
see it.
There's commitment here,
Yeah.
and I get that. We here at Electra Enterprises are also about commitment and about being brave, adventurous, trying to do new things. And I've just said that mostly because me personally, I needed at least a new investment in something in life just to kind of keep my own creative innovativeness going. The podcast is one of those things, but I also picked up skateboarding, and that's been fun.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just that. But
Filling your time with productive things is extremely important. And then
mhm,
filling your life with productive, constructive people is
mhm.
also very important.
Yeah, I'm definitely try to relish in the things in life that truly feel fulfilling. Like pizza. Okay. Pizza is fulfilling, and that was exactly what brought me to your food line. I had absolutely positively no knowledge of Bearded and Blessed the day I came to your food line over last summer. And actually, I've been putting a lot of due thought to this. And to the viewers, it's been a whole month. Okay, if you want to speak to the camera, yours is right
Oh, I
here.
see it.
Yeah, it's been a whole month since I've released an episode, and nothing too crazy's been going on. I guess I'm a busy bee. I will probably end up talking about some more things in the future off the podcast because we were gonna do a little bit of different things. But what rewinding back to a year ago, I think there is a part of the story that's not like completely told, and it's kind of relation because I needed a new investment, and that thing was Lord of the Rings. I was reading Lord of the Rings when this happened.
Okay.
Okay, because you see me guys holding a book, you just can't quite see what the book is. It was Fellowship of the Ring. So I was in such a position that was like, for so long I was trying to basically just get past some barriers to try to create any type of stability in my life. At the time I was housed but the housing was being threatened. It was at risk. It was crisis mode. And essentially, I threw my hands in the air at this exact point in time. And I was just like, I'm out of answers and I might just need to go down with the shit. And I must have been pretty at peace with this because when this whole thing began, I was just reading this book. And I swear in my head, I was right there with the hobbits. They're in a dark forest. There's Barrow Whites. And then Tom Bombadil comes. It was crazy. And then essentially, someone was making some comments about my body. And honestly, I've come to understand something about myself and about life. And that's like brushing things off or choosing to react to something is one thing. But also, I think I got to just acknowledge the situation and what choices were available to me. And I think at this exact point in time, I wasn't particularly, what's the word? Not stable. My emotional stability was kind of at a difficult place because I was going through stages of grief. But that exact point in time, I was very kosher. And that was the most peaceful and okay version of myself that I brought to that moment. And I think that my reaction created a mob mentality kind of situation. And I think at a certain point, it's important for people like me to realize that I have something to do with that too.
Yeah.
Like there was a reaction from me. So it's not that everything about life or the things that happened were fair, but I just know that my reality was booked and it got snapped to another thing and I wasn't super happy about it. And I don't know. I didn't really know anything. I definitely didn't know I was being filmed. At that point in time, I was too upset. I won't go lie to you. I won't go cap.
What about chips? These are fine if you don't mind. Yeah, go for it. Thank you. You're very welcome, man. Have a great rest of your day. I like the shirt, man. That's where I'm from. You're out here. Come slide on. I'll give it to you.
Listen, hey, asshole! Can you do something about the fucking people out here about to fucking assault me? Can you wake the fuck up and use your fucking eyes, please? Can I have the same liberty as everyone else?
I'm not the police. I'm sorry. I'm not the police.
But
So I've probably rewatched that segment of video at least 50 times. Because I'm like, what could I have done? But if you watch it, I had no idea what was going on. Like I was focused on the folks in front of me.
yeah, it was a long one.
Like I looked up because I heard something, but I couldn't tell what it was, and it got quieter, so I kept going and kept serving, and then obviously you walked up and had some choice words for me, and but I legitimately, if I had known that there was an issue in the back of the line, I would have stopped because I've done that before where I've seen something going on in the back of the line. I've stopped to say, hey, you got to chill out. Everything's got to run smoothly. Everything has to be. We all have to be civil. Like everybody out there's an adult. There's no excuses for acting.
There isn't.
You know what I mean? There's just no excuse. And but I really, really watched it, and I wanted to know that I made sure because I was like, man, did I miss something? Could I have changed? Yeah, I could have handled it better because I could have tried to figure out what was going on. But I was kind of shook because you kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that.
And that's kind of the thing. That was the thing about the nature of my mental health at the time. I never was in this capacity that I really truly wanted to harm any person, but there was a lot of volatile nature. Like it's not necessarily the kind of thing that always happens in public. In privacy, it's different because I know that what I'm doing or my angry behavior towards myself or otherwise, it's not immediately affecting anyone, but that wasn't being something that was being worked through like at all.
Right.
And in a moment like that, it really came to be. And it's so interesting to me because and I want other people to take this into consideration too. The events that followed were extremely pivotal in my life, but not in the most positive way. Like I basically lost everything. Then there were some serious issues regarding basically my mental health. And if anyone knows me super personally, they might have an idea how serious that situation was. But understand that any negative backlash that came to me for that or really anything else, would you guys prefer that I took the time to learn from it, to get professional help, and to eventually grow into something much better, bountiful, bearing fruit, and stable? Or to basically live the rest of my life in denial and continue to do the same things? I have a preference. I'm allowed to. I feel like when it comes to anything, whether it was something bad I did, I gotta own that. And I think that version of me wasn't fully capable of taking accountability. But when I got out of the hospital, about roughly about 30 days later, and I had people sending me this ridiculously trending video or clip.
30, like we didn't see any of the views from like the channel itself. It was all viewed on other people shared it,
Yeah.
and it was all viewed on their channels,
Mhm.
and the cumulative was like 30 million people saw this.
Yeah. I was
And
astounded.
people thought that I paid you, like you were a paid actor. I'm like nobody, people obviously weren't watching the channel because clearly we don't have the subscriber count to be paying people to come on our
Right.
channel.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about me. I almost, you know, at that immediate point in time, everyone in that vicinity wasn't super familiar with me. And although I have such a history of being in this area going back to like 2020, but I had been mostly housed from the about 3 or 4 years up to that point. And I typically would just go there to eat and nothing too crazy would happen, but and nothing like that, like no situation of that like had really occurred again in recent time. It wasn't super common at that point in time. However, I do in this present context receive a lot of different harassment just for simply being trans in the first place. So
Right.
I kind of, a lot of it comes from having to naturally have to stand up for myself because I'm in a lot of capacity situations. Like I often travel alone. I often travel with important things. I'm seen frequently in a lot of different places, and I could be an easy target to prey upon, but I've lived in Kalamazoo since I was 15, and I don't know. It created a hardness, but that something about that needed to evolve and it needed to change further than just what I thought was okay or possible. And when that change truly came about, or at least as a starting point, just something, probably when I got out of the hospital, there was so much more work that needed to be done, and there were still things that I did that showed that struggle, this internal struggle with in simple terms, my mental health. I don't know if in this particular podcast I'll go too into detail about that, but it is my story and it is mine to tell, and maybe in the future I will. But the main thing is it was a mountain climb. It was a marathon.
I'm not even gonna begin to tell you that I understand the trans community, the you know what I mean? I don't understand it, but I also believe, my true belief is that no matter what you choose, you shouldn't be harassed for your choice.
Yeah.
Like it's your body, your choice. You do you. Like well, if it doesn't affect me, why should it bother me?
Right. Oh my, those words right there have so much prevalence. And I think for me, I could choose to be full femme, earrings, you know, the whole 9 yards. I could do that if I wanted to, but at the same time, I'm also just a person. Sometimes I'm not trying to really be anything more than just myself. And that's why I get caught off guard because I didn't feel like I know I couldn't ever be doing a thing to invite that kind of behavior, but it's always in those situations where it's a little awkward. Maybe I've been dealing with it way longer than I think, but
It's a lot of closed-minded individuals out there, though.
yeah, and it's almost a little bit of a whiplash thing. 'Cause I know not everybody is like that. There is so many people who affirm my existence between my doctors, people from ISK, people in my regular norm, my close friends. Shout out to all y'all. But there are so many people who are so positive and forward thinking. And anytime I run into those situations, it's always not anything. Like it's not shit until someone wants to try to bring bodily harm to me. Because someone did effectively try to shove me off my board when I was riding on Ransom and I skinned my knee quite bad. So it was around then it stopped being funny. So I bought a body cam. and I'm gonna start documenting things a little closer just for my protection, because at that time I was a little busy and I was startled by this person's behavior. He was on an e-bike and he started speeding up behind me, and I was like looking behind me, and then I lost my balance. But he was shouting some stuff at me. I had headphones in, and I kind of know where the behavior comes from. But like, example, I have no idea who this guy was at all.
Just
So
some random.
yeah, so the nature of the situation was just like, okay, at a certain point, things aren't funny anymore, and I'm not gonna ever stop living my life the way I do, because I mean, not only am I not doing anything wrong, but I'm of, stable mind.
You're not hurting nobody.
Right. I'm of stable mind, and I only try to do good things these days. I try to be a really good friend. I think trying to be a good friend and trying to prioritize my mental health, allowing myself the space to make that almost like a full-time job, it's working out for me. I mean, we all get drained social batteries, but doing the right thing and being a nice person costs 0 cents.
Facts.
So tell me a little bit about how you managed to build your following.
So I started putting videos out.
Mhm.
I was feeding 30 people. I was coming out of pocket at the beginning. I'd feed 30 people, record it, put it out there, be like, hey, look, there's so many more people that need a meal. Help, can
Mhm.
you help me? And I started asking for help, and people started donating. They
Mhm.
started covering whole weeks worth of meals. Somebody suggested I start an Amazon wish list, started an Amazon list. We started getting tents and sleeping bags, blankets. I can't even tell you how much came from
Mhm.
Amazon. We donated over $3,000 worth of toys to the kids at the mission from Amazon.
Wow.
And we wiped their Amazon account out.
Wow.
I mean, we just wanted to just bring joy to people.
Mhm.
Like I know I'm not changing lives, but I want to make somebody smile. If I can make somebody smile,
Mhm.
chances are they're gonna have a better day.
Pizza always made my day better.
Hey, how can you go wrong with pizza and hot dogs and Costco pizza and hot dogs?
Mm.
Oh man.
It was never an L.
No, and I mean we try to bring all the sides and stuff to go with it. That
Mhm.
way,
That stuff helps.
yeah,
Little snack for later.
you got something to take with you, and it's crazy. I've been out there. Like I've dealt with the struggle. I was in the mission in 2014
Really.
for 3 months, and I vowed if I was ever in a situation and I could do something to help people, I was gonna do it. And
What you just said, I want to talk about that for a second. So, I think in my case, this is just something I've encountered. Some people are convinced that maybe I try to do good things just because I want Facebook likes, or I want publicity, or whatever. I just want to look like I have a good moral compass. But this is the truth of it. And I hate that the nature of that observation, or what do you want to call it, that presumption, forces me to think about this. But in my case, I just know I went through things just definitively bad enough before I ever even quite had an opportunity to finish living my life as a kid or grow into a sophisticated, stable adult. Those things were bad enough that made me want to help other people in case they were in those capacity situations. Just because there are other people in completely different capacity situations and I might help them didn't mean that my inspiration didn't come from something like maybe the abuse I went through, or just the general sense of neglect, or the sense of systemic poverty or systemic oppression, or even how um people like Hispanic people have been perceived since, I guess, what you might call a political surge or change in direction since 2016. All of these things were things I kept in mind, and I felt like when I grew in life and things started to get more serious, or the stakes felt more serious, I needed a stronger alter ego to be able to kind of fight these demons. I needed a stronger version of myself to be able to navigate, to fend for myself, and to be determined enough to put in the time and the work to go to and fro, to really, like, I guess sometimes it felt exhausting trying to accomplish a lot of different things, even if I was just doing it for myself. So I needed that person and I'm willing to be that person if someone within that capacity situation, because I dealt with homelessness from, I'd say, roughly anywhere from as early as like 17. So although I was much older and I had school and other people to fall back on, other people might not be so lucky, and I have to kind of anticipate that. And I can't say super specifically anything like that has necessarily come up, but sometimes I do see something alluding to that. And that's what else is that gonna like provoke you or make you want to do except try to do something?
Right. I mean, anything worth doing is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Like you've got to understand it. Anything worth it is going to be difficult. And as long as you can get through that difficult part, it's
Hmm.
so awesome on the other side.
Right.
You know, I would love to be in a situation one day to where we're able to like house people, get
Hmm.
people into housing. You know, there's ideas that we've kicked around to try to do something like that because you know I believe everybody just needs a stepping stone.
Hmm.
Maybe not everybody, because there are people out there you've been out there that made this a career choice. Like this is how they want to live.
Chronically homeless.
Yeah, and you know I've talked to a few people and they're like, oh yeah, you give me a house, I'll take it. But how they have no ambition to
Mm.
keep it up. You know what I mean? Like it's
The nature of needing ambition or understanding why wanting more for yourself and why that's important, that is a starting point in of itself. If that's something that's kind of missing, then it's unfortunately something that also needs to be assessed. I can say, like, because when you said earlier about when you were in the mission again and it compelled you to really want to help other people, in a way, my experiences of being homeless between the period of January 2020, and then that 8 month period, and then officially this last July until the very beginning of this last April, those two periods, they only compelled me to lock in, to try harder, to try to make something better for myself. But ultimately, I'm not one to lay on my back and admit defeat except in my most desperate and awful moment, which definitely happened. But there were individuals out there who gave me hope. Shout out to those individuals. Okay. The people who gave me hope just gave me enough hope to be able to keep fighting. So the seat I sit in now is possible. And I think even with the mistakes I made that put me in that situation in the first place,
yeah.
it's funny. When I was in a tent and I had my little spot and it was gradually getting colder, it almost felt like that was when I did some of my deepest thinking about what you could say are my fuck ups, but rather, I guess, the nature of it, understanding how it got me there and like how to improve in simple terms. So yeah, there's thought provoking Carlotta has been a thing lately. But it was a genuine feeling of my heart at the time that I acknowledged this situation, but I don't want to stay there.
Right.
I wasn't gonna. I was determined. I wasn't gonna settle. It was definitely not what I was gonna do.
Took a bad situation, you made it temporary instead of permanent. And
Exactly.
that's the mindset that you got to have. Like you got to want it to get it. You know what I mean? You can't. It's just not going to be handed to
Mm.
you.
Got to seize the opportunity.
And I'm willing to help everybody. I'll help everybody, but I am willing to go way above and beyond for the folks that are helping themselves.
Because there's so many people that are fighting so hard, but they just got to get over certain barriers.
Like I've got a family right now, and I'm not going to get into too many details, but there's mom, dad, 4 kids, both parents working. Now, why are they not at the front of the list? Why are they sleeping in a tent with 4 kids? Why are they not in a housing?
You're you're talking about the list as far as the mission.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about that because I haven't got into the
Uh-huh.
family side of it.
Right,
But
right, right.
in my mind, they should be like if they've got jobs, they should be at the top of the list.
Hmm.
If they have the way to keep up the bills and pay the rent, it may be a subsidized housing,
Hmm.
but because they're both working, that subsidy is going to be a little bit higher.
Hmm.
So they should be top priority,
Right.
but they're not. They're sleeping in a tent with 4 kids, and it kills me. Like I can't help them get the housing. I don't have the resources like that. we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I hope to be there. My goal when I started this was that the channel becomes self-sufficient. That's all I ever wanted, was
Mm-hmm.
it to make enough money to run itself.
That's like an
And
entrepreneur goal right
yeah,
there.
well, I mean, it's not nowhere even near there. Like we struggle. Most of our donations come through the Amazon wish list.
Mm-hmm.
The meals come from one woman. One lady has been paying for the meals for over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it is Amazon wish list. There's a few donations here and there through the Cash App, and we use those to help people with tents and bags. But I mean, it is not. It's not lucrative. It's not a money maker. We're not out here
Mm-hmm.
trying to make money. We just want people to be fed. We
Right.
just
Like,
want
how are you gonna like what we're talking about a situation involving scarcity. How do you try to accommodate or assist or aid something like that in the first place if you can't like essentially gather the means and the resources, and there's always going to be setbacks, accidents happen.
well,
So
I've had plenty of sleepless nights because you got to figure we bring 200 meals out, 222
mhm,
meals out, but we probably feed about 150 people with the people coming through for seconds.
right.
But that's still 150 people that are relying on me for that one. Like, even though it's one meal a week, they might be relying on that meal. That might be the only meal they get. You know what I
And
mean?
they'll be there.
Right. And I'm like, and if we're struggling and we don't have the money for the meals,
Hmm.
that sucks. It's like, it's not just me. It's everybody.
Hmm.
And I kind of took it on myself to advocate,
Right.
and I wasn't good at it. I'm still not good at it. As you can tell, I'm not good on camera. Like I'm still not comfortable on camera. I put out hundreds of videos, but I am still uncomfortable on camera. My
Wow.
hands still do all this kind of crazy
Well, at
stuff.
least you're not doing this.
Right, but I'm truly genuine. I care. Like everything I've said, is how I feel. Like I don't have a filter. Like you won't get a filter from me, and it's a good thing and bad thing sometimes.
Right.
But you'll always know how I feel.
Right.
And there was a lot of people that were pissed off that you were welcome back in the line, and I'm
Uh-huh.
like, why are you like? Well, first off, they didn't. You didn't hurt anybody. You
Mhm.
didn't break anything that couldn't be replaced. You didn't hurt anything legitimately. You flipped a table. We picked it back up. We continued to serve. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like for the longest, I had no idea what even happened. I had to watch that video. I can't tell you how many times to figure out what actually happened. Then I tried to zoom in and try to change the audio so I could hear what was going on in the background.
Yeah, you can barely hear that.
Barely. And that's why I looked at it and I was like, did I hear it or did I know what was going
Mhm.
on? I didn't. I really didn't. I had no clue what was going on. And then, like I said, you were
You
there
know,
and
you know what's funny is some of those people who were yelling at me are probably viewers of this podcast now, and we're friends. And what better outcome could you ask for? Also, if someone didn't want me welcomed in the line, because they were upset about my actions, again,
these
which
are internet
you
people. These aren't
right, the internet is the internet. Everyone's a
yeah.
keyboard warrior, but
Yo.
what people don't know are what happened in a 30-day period, what I survived and how that made me a survivor, and how in the end it was my responsibility to bounce back, and I did. And it was nothing about it was easy, and I got to own that journey, and I got to continue to actively put in that work. I love how genuine you are. I think you do great on camera.
I appreciate it.
And I will say for the record, for that family that's out there, keep fighting. And I will personally do whatever I can to try to guide society in a direction that doesn't actively make things worse. I'm not Bruce Wayne. I'm not even Electro Nachos. Okay. But gosh darn it, I will not sit here and pretend for the slightest second that these aren't relevant subject matters that I care about. Like, we're talking about such a collection of people that are dealing with some really hard things, and there are actively things happening in Kalamazoo that are much larger scale, and there are also resources that are becoming like more widely available. All of that's good, but I want to, in our last 15 minutes here, I want to talk about something that has been kind of just pressing on my mind. Okay.
Okay.
So this is regarding the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission. I guess this would mostly have to do with them as an organization, but I've been documenting some things. I've interviewed some people off the record, and some people here, you can hear what you could call horror stories. I've also stayed there, you know, for a pretty decent period of time. I actually haven't officially like slept there in a long time, but that's kind of besides the point. It's like this. I want to start with their programs and some of their policies, and then I want to come back and talk about primarily the women's side and what I have heard some of their staff members, essentially how they treat some of their guests or how they speak to them. And then that was more or less the thing. So, you have people who get displaced from anywhere, and then for some reason they're here, and then they need to secure shelter, but not only would there be the list in their way, which they might not have known about, but I guess you need an ID now, which I'm not gonna lie, identifying people makes sense, but also you're saying that you want to deny people shelter based on what I call semantics. I mean, you're not saying we're willing to provide you with $10 so you can get a state ID, but you are willing to make your guests clean your building for your employees while they watch. Anyways, that's not quite my point. Anyway,
Yeah, I used to sweep the cigarettes by the ATM machine. That was my job in the morning.
yeah, I did. I've been there too. I've been
Yeah.
there too, and
You know the one I'm talking about, right by the train station, right?
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
at one point, during my last stay there, it was just funny because I knew everyone had a chore and they were serious about that, but that wasn't included in that for a long time. And then one day, one of the staff members asked me to go do something, and I kind of just, I don't know, I kind of just walked outside, breathed some fresh air, and was like, okay. I mean, I don't think your property should be destroyed and be absolutely filthy or anything, but I just think it's a little bit of a funny behavior when there are the programs that work the way they do, and they clean the premises. It's just, if you like taking your friend's trash out because you're a nice person, but if you're homeless and you're already dealing with all this crap, you're sleep deprived and all that, I don't know. I find it a little weird, but I don't create these things. What I really want to talk about is their programs. So there's a particular stipulation that I find very funny. I almost find it a little invasive, perhaps. So let's say you are a man or a woman and you work 5 days a week and you sleep at the Kalamazoo Gospel Shelter. Bless your soul, you brave person. And you go to work, put on a brave face, you work your ass off, and then on the weekends, you like to go over to Shakespeare's real quick and have a beer. But guess what? The Kalamazoo Gospel Mission takes issues with you having a singular beer on your weekend after working for a whole week. So, and now this isn't my personal experience, this is purely an example, but essentially you're denied a better resource within their building as far as like housing and what have you, like shelter. You're denied from these programs that are supposed to, be good avenues just because of what you choose to do in your personal time, what's in your body. All right. And they're talking about we're drug testing people. I'm sorry. I don't know if you have to sign to do that, like if there's some sort of consent involved, but I find that borderline invasive. I don't think being homeless means that you need to be drug tested. I'm not trying to validate, however, that your inherent addiction should be enabled, but also if you have something along the lines of some kind of substance abuse issue, that doesn't mean you should be denied a resource. That should mean that there's a different avenue for you to get the help you need. That's kind of indirect because you're kind of just redirecting them you're gonna
Yeah,
keep them.
yeah, but you can't put somebody that's like currently tweaking into housing and expect them to pay the rent.
But I would sincerely like to believe that there are other courses of action. Like
Yeah, they should still be welcome and housed. Like they should have a roof over their head over at night, like in the shelter. But I mean, to get into the programs, like there's gonna be stipulations. Like the drug thing, I get that. Like I've talked. One of our biggest ideas was like buying property and setting up a whole bunch of tiny homes. But we would have to do the same thing. We'd have to run some sort of like drug test to make sure that nothing was coming in and out because we'd have to protect the place because something like that. And I'm not saying the gospel mission is this place I'm talking about, but I mean, there's got to be some kind of rules and guidelines now that the drug use. I used
I
to be
mean,
an addict. Like my
mm,
drug of choice now is success stories. I love seeing, like I told you the other day, I love seeing success stories. Like I'm clearly not on drugs anymore, but
mm,
there was a time where I was, and you know, it was terrible. And if you would have given me housing while I was using, I would have not been able to pay the rent.
right,
You know, I'd have been smoking my whole check.
right. Well,
Um,
I mean, what I'm trying to get at though is like, if in my case, I'm allergic to nicotine, right?
yeah.
So I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't vape nicotine, otherwise it'll make me very sick. I
Okay.
do smoke weed though. And whether I smoke a lot, whether I smoke a little, whether I take an edible every now and again,
It's legal
I
though.
don't, yeah, but see, that means you're denied from their program. I don't get access to resources because maybe I need to, like, I have borderline personality disorder and that helps me keep pretty calm.
Can you get? No, I've got a question for you, and
Well,
I don't know the answer to it. I don't
yeah,
know. If you had your medical card.
I wish.
No, no, but what I'm asking,
I
if you
hope.
had your medical card, would it still be an issue?
Actually, I think it is. I think it's that deep. They want to try to determine
So they
what
want
would be best for
straight
your body.
abstinence, right? Straight abstinence, no
Hmm.
alcohol, no nothing.
That
Okay.
provides like a pretty good slew of issues that can provide a lot of bodily issues. If you have something that helps you keep regulated in marijuana or say CBD is just an example. I don't know who they are to try to say, I think I know what was better for you just so you can access something better.
See, the pot, I don't agree with. Like, I agree with you on
It's a
that one.
weird,
You know what I
or a
mean?
beer. I'm
Or
just saying.
yeah,
I mean,
because now, but alcohol is a whole different story because people do stupid shit on alcohol.
I get that, but I like to have a celebratory beer
I'm
after anything good happens.
I'm gonna steal your zebra cakes if I'm smoking pot. I'm not gonna go out and start throwing shit. You know, if I, you know, people start drinking, even if one beer though, one beer turns into three, turns into five, and next thing you know, you're doing
Mm.
shots. I mean, it's out. So, have you,
Alcoholism is out. Yeah, don't. I'm not trying to validate alcoholism, but it almost deviates people a little stronger to that path in a way.
yeah.
I mean, in a way, like I guess we could play the what if game, but I will say, me as a kid, when my mom said don't do this thing, I would just do it harder.
Yeah, you know,
I mean, what are you gonna do?
I got a 16-year-old. Tell me about it.
Yeah. But to carry on to my next point, I want to talk about I want to validate the stories of a lot of women who have stayed in the shelter. And I don't have to get into anything super specific because it's all basically the same thing. There are a lot of women in the shelter who speak of a lot of the other who have told me the other women who work on the women's side, essentially they're just verbally abusive. And the things I've heard from it sounds like hearsay until it comes from like a dozen people. I have a particular friend who I adore. She is such a beautiful and amazing and ambitious person and accomplished. But she was telling me that essentially some of the workers there sort of trigger like body dysmorphia. And we're not okay with that kind of thing on this podcast one bit. I can get that kind of thing if somebody like a man, I guess, were to like comment on my body in a weird type of way or something. But shaming people for how their bodies look isn't that's not your job if you work there.
Right.
And
It's not your job in general.
but if I'm just getting I've heard many stories, especially when I did stay there, about women. They would wake up in the morning, they're like, oh my God, some of the people who worked there last night, they were like in my face, like screaming at me. And this is a really stark contrast to the men's side, because on the men's side, we're talking about one guy in a bubble behind a little thing of glass, and he is like this with his hands behind his head. He's kind of awake. He's like,
Looking like he's on the block of a prison.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just funny to me just because it all looks funny. And furthermore, this is something that we did not get to mention in episode 1, but essentially my close friend who is also trans, she has had what we call gender affirming surgery. And essentially one of the workers explained that if my friend were to sleep on the women's side, she would basically need to expose her body to prove to the workers there of what side she sleeps on. Now, my issue here is I feel like if they expanded their building, they should have also made an attempt to accommodate non-gender conforming people, but instead we were an afterthought and they decided to allow these situations to take place. And of course, my friend had self-respect and would never just expose herself to some freaking worker in a shelter because they thought that was necessary. And just the insinuation of this kind of thing I hope would give non-gender conforming people, whether they're non-binary, trans, or what have you, the understanding of what they might be walking into. Because me as an individual, I might be strong enough to withstand certain types of things in the capacity situation I was in, where people could see what my body looked like because I was the only selection of clothes I had at the time. I'm on a men's side of the building, and not everything people said or did to me was super pleasant, but I know those staff members did try to make me feel protected. And otherwise, everything else regarding the situation I've spoken about. But I just don't know if other individuals walking into that situation will have the same amount of resiliency. And I think most people would turn tail and just go somewhere else because of the general insinuation of what they know the mission to be. But I'm just an individual who was strong enough to
Now I have a
surf through it.
question for you.
Sure.
Is there a resource for the trans community that, like a legal resource that, like a civil rights,
Mm,
uh, is because I know there is for
mhm.
other groups, you know what I mean? So
Right.
is there a resource in Kalamazoo? Like, could your friend have gone to that resource, had the legal backing, and brought a doctor's note or something that affirms that they're female?
Uh, that definitely would have been a choice course of action, to be honest with you. If I were in their shoes, I would have taken the situation a lot more seriously. I think at the time, I don't know.
Well,
We were just
I think until somebody does take it seriously, they're just gonna keep doing the same
right,
shit.
right. Yeah, no. I just know at the end of the day, my doctors affirm what my gender is, and none of those people in the building have a degree. They're not doctors. They did not study gender studies. They are pretty rigid in their
It's
beliefs.
probably like me. Like I know nothing about it, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I
But
also
like,
don't bash anybody for it either because
right.
it
But
doesn't hurt me. It
think about it like this. When I walk into the ministry with community, not only do I know that everybody knows my name, I'm protected, and there is actively on their expectations saying you don't discriminate on anyone based on their race, gender, sexual orientation, et cetera, et cetera. You walk into the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, there is absolutely zero of this. There's no representation. There's no indication that, you know, there's diversity is okay here.
So the gospel mission is a religious organization. The
Uh-huh.
ministry with community is ministry in name only. It is not a ministry tied
Right.
to a church, whereas the gospel mission is tied to a church. The guy that runs it is a pastor.
Uh-huh.
There isn't a pastor in the ministry. That's why you're
Right.
dealing with the church when you're at the gospel mission. You're
Uh-huh.
not dealing with the church at the ministry.
Right, but there are churches that are forward thinking, like First Presbyterian Church, for example, and it's just like a situation.
Is that the one Andy goes to?
Andy,
Andy, big, big.
probably.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking
A
about.
lot of us
I love
go
Andy to
there,
death.
and those people are amazing. I've given them a shout out on here, and I wish the mission only took that kind of candor into consideration, because often I go in there and my name is super unknown. They like forget who I am, even though I've been going there every day basically for like a year. So essentially, to better answer your previous question, when I got discriminated against actively or similar to what my friend happened, it would have been my responsibility to call the people that regulate them, called HUD, regarding discriminatory behavior. And their anti-discrimination policy is extremely vague. It's like a sentence or two,
Okay.
which is like, seriously, Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, how seriously do you take anti-discrimination if your policy for anti-discrimination is literally like 2 lines? I read it. I had the paperwork in hand. It was something. Essentially, situations like these could get them shut down. So in a way, it's kind of a bad thing because people need that resource. But there is change that's needed. It could mean that one individual gets canned or something. But I
No,
certainly was going to.
everybody deserves a roof. Like
Mm-hmm.
they should not be discriminated against for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, if you're gonna help, if you're gonna claim to help everybody, you want to help everybody, help everybody.
Mm-hmm. Including the people who sleep. I'm as an example in the good. If you sleep in the Good Samaritan room, I don't think that means you should be excluded from some sort of access to additional resources, avenues, social workers, what have you. They basically only have social workers for people in their programs, and their programs tend to be so rigid that it doesn't allow people to really function as well as they'd like. I
Well,
actually had a friend who was telling me that she was they basically, like, I think they kicked her out of her space just because, well, I don't think this was in specifically the mission, but they didn't have any space for her to put her belongings, and it being on the floor was also not acceptable, or in the bed or anything like that. So I don't know. As far as when it comes to actual homeless people being in these situations, I think like a little room for understanding wouldn't be terrible.
And aren't they like stuck there for like the first 3 or 6 months?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It could use some reworking, but that's not something they think the mission believes they are accepting or forward thinking towards trans people. And I one of their staff members tried to indicate I was coming on to him after he discriminated against me. Come on, people, what is y'all doing? Anyways, y'all, we've reached the 45-minute part. This has been episode 6 of Crazy Talks with Carlotta. Everyone, let's close out for our boy Bill Maine of Bearded and Blessed.
Thank you for having me. Truly, this, like I said, this was a long time coming. I will sit down with you anytime you want to talk. So,
All right. It's
let's
been awesome.
yeah, let's not make this a one-time only thing. All right.
Absolutely. We want return guests every single time.
That's what's up.
All right, guys. I'm your laid back but outspoken host, Miss Carlotta Electra of Electra Enterprises. And this has been Crazy Talks with Carlotta, where we talk about how that's crazy. All right, y'all. As they say in Lord of the Rings, Namaste.